This is something that's been on my mind for years, and a lot of people have asked me about it, so here we go. It was just another average Thursday morning, the kind where you're counting down the minutes to lunch, and every class feels like it's dragging on forever. It was third period history, and honestly, I was half asleep, trying to get through the day. I could see the clock ticking down, only two more periods until the weekend. Our teacher, Mr. Martinez, was pretty chill. He always had these weird off topic conversations with us, and today he was showing us some bizarre documentary about ancient Egypt, which was honestly more entertaining than the actual lesson. We were all just zoning out, messing around on our phones, when suddenly the PA system crackled to life. I wasn't expecting it, but the principal's voice came through. He sounded off almost like he was in a hurry. He told us all to remain in the classrooms and lock the doors. This is not a drill. At first I thought it was some kind of joke. A lockdown? We didn't have drills like this. We were just sitting there in confusion when Mr. Martinez's face went pale. He didn't say anything, but I could see it in his eyes. Something was wrong. He rushed to the window and peeked outside. I noticed that the hallway lights were flickering, and all the sounds of normal school life, laughter, chatter, footsteps, had stopped. Everything was eerily quiet. The class went completely silent. We were all trying to make sense of what was happening when we heard the sirens. At first it was just one or two cars, but soon enough there were a lot more. The whole street outside was covered with police vehicles. Then from the hallway we heard shouting. It wasn't just normal noise, it sounded panicked, frantic. A man's voice, angry, yelling. My heart started racing. Mr. Martinez locked the door and went to the window again, but this time he pulled the blinds down, his hands shaking. One of my classmates whispered, "What's going on?" But no one had an answer. The loud banging started after that. At first it was far down the hall, but the noise got closer, like someone was throwing themselves at the lockers. It sounded like someone had completely lost it. The worst part was when we heard the voice yelling things like, "Let me in and I'll get all of you." That's when the room started to feel suffocating. The whole class just froze. People were looking around, their faces pale, eyes wide. A few girls started crying, and I could hear my own breathing getting heavier. It was surreal, like the kind of thing you'd see in a movie, but this was real. This was happening. My friend next to me grabbed my arm, and I could feel how tense she was. Everyone was scared, but no one knew what to do. The banging on the door came next, and it was so loud I thought it would break the door down. Then one of the girls screamed, and I swear it felt like time slowed down. The shouting stopped, and for a second there was this unbearable silence. Then finally the intercom crackled again, and the principal's voice came through, sounding a lot more serious now. He explained that there was a man who had entered the building acting erratically. He'd been seen near the back of the school, and they weren't sure if he had any weapons. The worst part was that they hadn't caught him yet. He was still on the loose somewhere in the building. As the minutes passed, I kept hearing sirens in the distance, but it felt like hours. It was so hard to breathe. Everyone in the class was still holding their breath, waiting for the next sound, the next bang, but nothing happened. The principal finally gave the all clear, telling us to stay in our classrooms and not to open the doors until further notice. Later we learned that the man had been seen walking around the back of the school, knocking on doors, acting erratically, but somehow they never caught him. There were rumors that he had been picked up by the police after a few days, but nobody really knew for sure. What still bothers me is how it all felt, like it was too real to be just a drill. The whole thing was over quickly, but it stuck with me. I don't think I'll ever forget the silence, the tension in the air. And I wonder sometimes, was it all just a random person with issues or something bigger? I hope it was the first one, but it still makes you think. It was early October and the weather was overcast and rainy. I was in the first lunch period, which was for all the 6th graders and some 7th graders. Everything seemed pretty normal until I heard 4 loud booms in the distance. At first I thought it was just thunder, considering the weather, but then the entire lunch crowd started screaming. At first I thought they were just overreacting, but then campus security rushed in, yelling for everyone to get to the multipurpose room. The kids still in line for lunch had to throw away their trays and quickly rush inside. My friends and I followed the crowd into the room, confused and curious about what was happening. The multipurpose room is huge, but with so many kids inside, it felt cramped. The back wall has large glass windows, but when we entered, I noticed campus security quickly pulling down the curtains over them. There were adults standing at every exit, ensuring that no one left. My friend Eric, always the curious one, went up to one of the adults and asked what was going on. When he came back, he looked serious. "You know the houses right in front of the school?" he asked. I nodded. "Well, there's a mentally disabled man who barricaded himself in front of his house. He's threatening to commit suicide and kill the cops if they try to remove him. He was walking around outside, watching the kids in a creepy way," Eric said. Then Eric said something that made it all much worse. "He's a registered sex offender." That made everything feel a lot more serious. We were stuck in the multi-purpose room for about an hour, just sitting and waiting for updates. Eventually the situation was cleared up, and we were escorted back to our classrooms, one by one. I later found out that the man lived next door to my friend Brandy. She told me that the Halloween before, she had seen him at his window, cutting his arm and writing, "Don't come near or I'll kill you," in his own blood. At the time, they thought it was just some creepy Halloween thing, but after this incident, we all knew it was far more dangerous than we had realized. I'm just glad that guy never got close to any of us. I'm 22, just out of college, and recently landed a job at my old high school as a computer intern, working in the basement. The basement is a mess, disorganized with boxes and old files stacked everywhere. But there's a small office down there that's surprisingly nice. It's got 3 big desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, and of course the air conditioning. It's a luxury the rest of the school doesn't get to enjoy. It's also home to all the school servers and tech equipment. I got the job because 3 of my old computer teachers absolutely adored me. I actually consider them real friends, not just mentors, so they really helped me land the gig. Everything had been going great until a few weeks ago. My 2 co-workers, Dave and Gary, weren't in the office. They were upstairs working on some papers, so I was alone, eating my sandwich during my lunch break when I got a call from the front office. It was one of the women there telling me that the school was on lockdown because someone, possibly armed, had entered the building. She said to stay where I was and not do anything until further notice. There wasn't much I could do. The office was nice, but it didn't even have a door, just a big opening that led to the basement, plus the basement door didn't even have a working lock. For my safety, I turned off all the lights in the office, including my computer screen, and kept my phone on the desk. I tried texting Dave and Gary, but they weren't responding. So I sat there in the dark, playing games on my phone, waiting to hear what was going on. About 20 minutes passed, and I still hadn't gotten any updates. I had no idea what was happening upstairs. Then I heard the basement door creak open. The sound echoed through the basement and into my office. I sat up straight, wondering if I should call out to Gary or Dave. Before I could, I heard footsteps running down the stairs, growing louder as they approached my office. In a panic, I pushed my chair away and crawled under the desk, trying to make myself as small as possible. My heart was racing. Whoever was down here, I didn't want to be noticed. I felt like if I made even the slightest noise, I would be in real danger. Then my phone dinged. A text message. My whole body froze in fear, and I clenched my teeth, terrified to move. The footsteps got closer, closer, until they were practically right next to me. At that moment, I couldn't take it anymore. I dove out from under the desk, panicking, begging whoever it was not to hurt me. To my surprise, a hand grabbed my arm and pulled me up. I looked up, and there was a guy in a red plaid button-up shirt, jeans, and a reddish-black cap. "It's okay, I'm just hiding down here with you. What's going on up there?" he asked. I was in shock, still trembling. I whispered, "What's happening? Who are you?" The guy paused for a moment, looking almost hesitant before he answered. "I came to pick up my son. A teacher told me to hide down here," he said. Just as I processed what he said, I checked my phone. I had a text from Dave. I could feel my stomach drop as I read it. "Dude, this is crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to read that text out loud to the man when I looked up and noticed something that made my blood run cold. The guy was wearing the same red plaid shirt and cap described in Dave's message. He must have seen the shock on my face because his eyes shifted and I could see panic building. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified, but all I could think of was getting upstairs. In a panic, I bolted for the basement stairs. Just as I was halfway up, a gunshot rang out. I could hear the bullet ricochet off something metal, but thank God it missed me. I kept running, not looking back, until I reached the top of the stairs. When I burst into the hallway, police were already waiting at all exits, including the basement. They caught the man the second he opened the door. As it turned out, the guy had some history with Mr. Buckley, although no one ever found out exactly what happened between them. All we knew was that whatever it was, Mr. Buckley hadn't done anything to deserve what happened. I still can't shake the sound of that gunshot. It'll echo in my mind for a long time.